War Eagle, War Report family, it's your guy C-Dub, and today's live show is brought to you by GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. For more information about them, please check them out at gwt2energy.com. The show starts now.
You are now listening to the unmistakable sound of the War Report. Weekend Tailgate. It's your boy. I Jones. Be real. C-Dub. Mike G. Get ready. Sit on back as we bring you the War Report. Weekend Tailgate.
War Eagle, War Report family, welcome to the best Auburn community on these internets and online, the War Report family. Welcome, guys. Smash that like button, drop comments, give us a War Eagle, shout out your city. It's good to see you guys. It's A-Day week. We're talking about Piggies moving to D-line. We're talking about the second scrimmage that was had over the weekend. A lot of thoughts on that. Gentlemen, War Eagle to you. How y'all doing?
Damn.
Oh man, it's been a week. I'm back though. You know what I'm saying? I'm back. I heard a lot of
back.
Listen, man. Yeah, everybody missed you Wednesday. B Will back in the building. If I had a little,
I heard
thing.
I heard the whispers. I heard y'all trying to conjure me up by saying Jimothy 3 times in the broadcast. I almost materialized on here out of nowhere, but you know what I'm saying? I had to keep working on what I was working on, but I'm glad to be back.
Right, hey, that sound like a real intelligent hood dude making threats. I almost materialized on that.
Oh my goodness!
Been in prison a little bit, learn a few words.
I heard you was talking a little of that commotion. I almost materialized on that.
Yeah,
War Eagle James, man, welcome,
man?
Sir.
Yes.
Kevin, War Eagle. Listen, Kevin, we need you to become a subscriber, my friend. We see you out here in these streets, my friend. We few people shouting us out. War Eagle,
yeah.
War Eagle, and War Eagle. Mike, want to talk about?
Got one of them.
Oh,
right there.
we already got one off the bat.
Oh,
David, man, thank you.
Appreciate you, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
My G, talk about why it's so important for them to sign up in these days, man.
Listen, I love talking about this.
Of course,
I almost cursed again. No, it's Sunday morning, so my mom said no cursing before 5 p.m. on Sunday. So I'm going to keep it PG here. Listen, we are having a great time. We had a great time with Chris Todd on Thursday.
Yeah.
Chris answered your questions. We more people got, due to a technical glitch, more people got to see that than were originally intended. So Ike is taking the heat on that one. But if you got to see that free chop it up, it was Chris Todd is just an incredible football mind. And he understands the game. He understands the mechanics. And I hope to see him coaching one day. I hope to see him on the sidelines one day. Just a great guy. So, we were blessed that he gave us a little bit of his time to do that chop it up. If you're new to the War Report and you don't know what chop it up is, we're going to let you know. So this Chop It Up is about 2 weeks from the next Thursday. We have our next Chop It Up where we will be doing a film review, a quarterback film review. And if you haven't seen one of these film reviews yet, they are highly informative. We learned so much. Devin Aromashadu's wide receiver film review was phenomenal. So I expect Chris Todd to be just as phenomenal. He's going to give us the quarterback perspective, play by play. We've chosen some plays to kind of get an idea of what happened last year and what we expect to see this year. Harsin is going into a multiple offense. We learned a lot through Chris's Chop It Up and through his building report interview that under Gus's offense, quarterbacks weren't required to read a lot pre-snap. So the plays just kind of were what they were, and any changes came in from the sideline. It kind of slowed things down. So I can't wait to go through this film with Chris Todd. So if you are not an insider, this next one will definitely be exclusive to insiders. Become an insider, $5.99 a month.
It will definitely be exclusive this time.
Yeah, it'll definitely be exclusive to insiders. We wait for you guys to just kind of file in, and then we go as long as we need to get everybody's questions answered and also go through the film. So Ike may have a surprise for you guys depending on how 8A goes, but like we are certainly looking forward to doing this Chop It Up with Chris Todd. Chris will be back during the season as well too to do some more film breakdowns with us. So we appreciate him giving his time to help educate us all. Our GoFundMe is up if you want to be able to support our film reviews and the work that we do. Please hit that GoFundMe. This is the best way to support us. We love the super chats. YouTube takes 45% of that. So every dollar you give, 45 cents of it goes to YouTube. They're doing okay. Last time I checked their stock, the War Report could definitely use a little bit more percentage of that. So hit that GoFundMe. Our merch store is also up. So I see Caesar's got the Get Your Weight Up gear on. It was a laundry day for me, so I don't have any War Report gear on. Ike's got the War Report shirt on. We are very proud of the quality of this stuff. And, this is a great way to support us, too, and get something in return for it. So we appreciate everybody who's been hitting up that merch store to support the work that we do. Happy Sunday.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dope. Shout out to a few people joining on, man. Shout out to Corey Weber, Blake
Yeah,
Robinson, Ed Darby, Walt. We see you guys in here, man.
Yeah, my man
Michael
Walt.
Arndt.
Yeah, man. So a lot of people.
Auburn Dad for life. See all of y'all.
Auburn Dad. We see Auburn Dad. Also, a question by Spicy Penguin. If I understand your question correctly, the scrimmage was supposed to be open to students and fans, and I think they had weather issues in the area, so that part got canceled. But they moved the scrimmage
itself,
inside.
Yeah, scrimmage itself happened.
Yeah, the scrimmage actually happened. So.
Right.
That's that. But yeah, man, let's talk about. And I see some of y'all posting, y'all are fed up with.
There's some facts and all going on in the comment section right now. I love it.
What you
tweet these? Please tweet these.
Yes, tweet these at us. We need these,
we need the screenshot for the template on the thing when I'm editing and putting this thing together. So I love that you guys love that segment. But tweet these at us. If you create a Twitter for no other reason other than to just tweet these at us, I'm good with it. I'm not much of a Twitter person myself, but that's the best way to communicate with you guys as a fan base. So yeah.
Some people trying to get drunk asking questions about development. Trust me, we got you today. We're gonna talk about some
Daniel.
Daniel, I see you, Lloyd. Daniel.
Yes, my man.
Popping up in here, new member in the place.
One in the crew. Listen, so can we jump straight into this? I woke up this morning with the itch to talk about this move. Is that the first thing on the list? I don't even know. What are we talking about?
Mike, because you're my guy, of course. Let's talk about it, man.
Yes. They've said it like 15 times in the comment section.
We already.
I mean, it's the tiger in the room. So be Will, is that right? Did I get it right? The tiger in the room,
tiger or the eagle, whichever one.
The tiger or the eagle in the room. Okay.
Yeah. Now, eagle in the room, you can kind of dodge. The tiger in the room, you just can't.
You got to deal with that. You got to deal with the tiger in the room.
Yeah,
it's a bad look. That's a funny fact. So, Sean, please tweet that. What do we think, man? What do we think? We actually did one of our facts and nahs we did several weeks back was about Piggies being a 300-yard tight end receiver in the offense's upcoming season, or he was going to actually.
I think it was all-purpose yards. 200 all-purpose yards.
Okay.
Yeah, right. I love this. I know that there's some people who are not a fan of this, but we have done building reports where we've talked to guys like Ben Grubbs who went from defense to tight end to offensive tackle, and I have been screaming at everybody that the way this staff evaluates talent is going to be wildly different from the way the last staff evaluates talent. Right. So they looked at this guy and I promise you, somebody told him you're going to make a lot of money in the NFL if you make the move to defensive line. You're athletic. If he gets good with his hands and he can maintain pad level, he's going to be a force for defenses to reckon with. Right. So on a D line that's going to be loaded with talent, here's what I see. If you watched Friday's version of Facts or Not, we talked about sacks, over under on sacks, essentially. Yeah. And I made a statement, and I said that Auburn will lead the league in sacks 2021. I believe that with all my heart. I believe that we can lead the league in sacks in 2021. And Pegues moving to the defensive line gives us another level of depth, right? He doesn't have to get his weight up. His weight is already up. They just have to teach him technique, and he's going to be more athletic than a lot of the offensive linemen he's going to be facing against. So if you can teach him technique and he can pick that up this summer, I'm telling you, he's going to be a brick wall in the middle of that defense that you're not going to be able to get by. He's going to be able to get off blocks, plug gaps, right, and force plays elsewhere. Pegues is going to be a monster on this defensive line. I love the move. I really do. And here's what I think it says as well, too. The move tells me that the coaches feel really good about the other tight ends in our system.
Facts.
Right?
Facts.
They have to. I mean, if you're moving that guy out, they feel really good about the guys who are left in that tight end room.
Yeah.
So I like it. I think it's a super positive sign. I know. I mean, he was something different, and everybody was looking forward to seeing Big Refrigerator running around catching passes on offense. But at the end of the day, if they feel like they can move him, and from what I read, Eason was really driving this.
Right. He was.
Eason was saying, "Give me this guy. Give him to me. Give him to me. Give him to me." And Pegues, it seems like, at least right now, that he was open to the move, really enthusiastic about the move. So if the player is buying it and the coaches are buying it, who am I to say otherwise? I'm buying it. I'm in on the move to D-line.
Also, don't get it twisted. When we get in some of these short yardage situations and goal line packages,
you still put him in there.
He's going to be on that side of the ball, taking someone's head off. So, like just because he's moving the D-line, I'm pretty sure they have worked out some packages where JJ is leading the block. He's sneaking out in the backfield. Like they've got some plays lined up for him. So I'm still seeing him being a part of the offense, just not in the way we originally thought he would. And to your point, Mike, I agree. It says a lot about who we already had at tight end in that tight end room.
Yeah. Right. I just think they feel good about it. Once you start moving guys around and repurposing true talents like that, that's a good sign for a team. And it means that there's some critical thought going in to talent evaluation that I don't think was happening a lot before. Right. We kept hearing those stories for former players who they all were playing something other than their natural high school position when they got to college. And these were guys who went on to play years and years and years in the NFL at those new positions.
Yeah.
Kevin Yachts was a part of that, and telling these guys like, hey man, if you get your weight up and you switch to tight end or you switch to offensive line or D-line, you'll be a monster. And the results spoke for themselves. So having coaches that just know what they're doing with talent is going to make us so much better because there's tons of talent on this team, right? Yeah. The cupboards aren't bare. Harsin did not inherit a rebuild situation at Auburn. He just needed to have a 1-year recruiting stopgap, and he needs to develop the guys already on this roster, and everybody's going to forget about this 2021 recruiting class, right? This will be a blip for him. He can totally cover this up if he can develop talent and do the things that he needs to do. I really believe that. So, I'm really excited about it. I think it confirmed a lot of things that I thought about this staff initially. They know what they're doing with talent, and they've had to do it a lot. He had to do it a lot at Boise. Right. I know it's the Mountain West, but still winning 10 games on average every season means that you at least know what you're doing with the talent that you have, regardless of the conference that you're in. Right. Agreed. Right. We're seeing some people go ahead, Mike. Football is football. That's all I'm saying. Football is football. And, the repurposing of talent is one of the most underrated skills that a coach can have. Looking at a guy and saying, this is your best fit. And then getting the player to buy into that and say, you know what? I'm going to do this because my coach says it's in my best interest. How many times have we seen it where, think about Tim Tebow coming out of college, right? We all knew he was going to be a trash NFL quarterback. Tebow didn't want it.
Wait.
Tebow didn't want to change positions. Right?
I don't.
If he
My
had
bad.
made
Go
the
ahead.
switch, if he had made the switch earlier in his NFL career, he would have played years at tight end or any other position where he was athletic enough to beat the guy on the other side of the ball. But he couldn't throw. He had his mind dead set on being a quarterback. Now, he told everybody who tried to get him to change positions that they were wrong. And he was wrong. Look how his career went. And I don't care about it. Listen, they literally won games where he was 2 for 8 passing. I'll never forget this. In that one playoff game they won where his second completion of the game was the overtime touchdown. He just couldn't throw the ball.
So he won.
But he didn't win enough to stay at quarterback.
I agree.
Right?
But
yeah. All I'm saying is like, he was, you can't look at me and tell me that he should have been a quarterback at the next level. Everybody who knew what they were talking about talent said, listen, this guy needs to be repurposed. He's athletic and he's smart, right? But his ego wouldn't let him get off the quarterback position for whatever reason. And at the college level, when you're looking at these guys and a coach comes through and says, maybe quarterback, maybe you should be a wide receiver, right? Like maybe there's a better spot for you. Cody Burns came in as a quarterback, and at some point somebody had to tell him, listen, man, quarterback isn't your thing. You got to move if you want to see the field.
Okay, but the biggest difference there is that Cody Burns.
I mean, called a touchdown in the Cody Burns.
It's not that he had natural wide receiver skills. It's just that you are definitely not a quarterback.
Exactly.
Where else can we put you? And that's not the case with Piggies. I think we all agree he has skills that transcend the position he was playing and are beneficial for multiple positions, which is why they had a hard time narrowing down where they thought they could put him. But just to go back to your Tebow thing, it's not that. I mean, I know Tebow only wanted to play quarterback. That's true. He thought he was a quarterback. But the effect that Tebow had on the game and the team around him had a lot to do with why people were willing to give him a chance. Because he willed teams to win in college, and most notably for after they lost that game against Ole Miss. I think it was the 08 season. And then it's like he was driving the team to win, and they won a national championship. And, the legend of Tebow was born. But in Denver, he 2 passes for a playoff win. Who else goes 2-8 and wins a playoff game?
Who? The team around him was phenomenal.
Yeah, okay, it was, but they won. There were games where they were stinking it up the whole game, and then he does something in like the last drive to win a game, even though he was terrible most of the game.
Yeah,
and what I'm telling you, like that. No, I agree. But what I'm telling you is that most quarterbacks who were equally as subpar as Tebow would not win that game. They would just be terrible and lose. Tebow could be terrible and find a way to win, and that's why he got the shot, because people saw that in him. I'm not telling you he's a good quarterback, because he's not. And I agree that he didn't have the tangibles to play quarterback, but he did have intangibles that made people willing to at least give him a chance.
Right. He should have used all those intangibles at another position, is all I'm saying. He could have been.
He didn't translate to another position.
Yeah, I mean, I think he would have been
half that. He wasn't fast enough to be
a really good. I think he was a really good tight end.
I don't know if he was big enough to be a tight end.
Yeah, I think he would have been a really good tight end. He would have been a more athletic tight end. He could have played in the slot. He understood the game. He understood the game, and I'm telling you, so this move for Piggies, bringing it back full circle to this move for Piggies, right? He is more athletic than 99% of people his size, which are the people he's going to be going up against on offensive line, right? And trying to stop a guy who's going to be better with his hips, and if he's strong with his hands, it's going to be a complete nightmare for offensive lines. Yeah. He's going to be a complete nightmare. And Eason saw it. And I see some comments here about Eason. Auburn Dad for Life says, man, fellas, listening to defensive coaches, especially Eason, make me happy inside. He wanted to come to Auburn even before Tracy Rocker took the job and said he can recruit because he knows how to get kids in from the NFL, right? Like, I mean, this guy has seen a lot, man, at the NFL level, and he's telling Pegues. Now, he was the one that was pushing it and said, I want him. Give me this guy, right? That makes me really excited when a coach is saying, I want to pull somebody from the other side of the ball.
And the offensive coach lets him.
Yeah. And everybody buys in. What? Man,
that's the dope part. Like, Harsin said okay and was cool with it.
Yeah, and the kid said okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, Pegues still has a say in it. If he doesn't want to make the switch, it's going to be really hard to push that on him. But for all things point to that there was a lot of buy-in from Pegues on the move, which tells me that there's a trust between our players and our coaches.
Yeah.
I really think it started in the weight room this spring. They came in and they changed up the strength and conditioning program, and the guys were so jacked up about the plan that they had for them in the weight room, right? And the buy-in starts there. Now, everybody's drinking. If you are first time watching the War Report, then you know that strength and conditioning and development is something that we talk about a lot on the show. And it's completely overlooked by a lot of fans, and this is where you get the mental buy-in of your team. Physically, they feel able to go out and whoop the ass of the guy across from them on the field.
Yeah.
You know, Owen Papo said, we're going to look like Marines come fall. And then they released the best hype video I've ever seen other than mine, right? And
humility live here at the War Report. Humility.
Right.
I'm the most humble guy in the room.
Right. Other than with Harsin working out with the players at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
They got buy-in from this team. And I'm just not sure that we had that over the last 4 or 5 years. Total buy-in from everybody on the team. This is really something exciting here. So fans are mixed about this Pegues thing, man. Like I'm telling you, I've read the whole spectrum of comments on Pegues. Some people love it. Some people hate it. And I'm telling you that if the player bought it, then it's a good thing.
Right.
The player bought it. It's a good thing. And for his level of talent, again, for a defensive coach to say, give me this guy, I can make him into a monster. Right. And then the offensive coaches to say, hey, man, let's talk to him about it. Let's make this happen. Somebody who's used to evaluating NFL talent, that can't be understated. I'm sure for Pegues that played in, right?
Yeah. But, you know, Mike, I like the fact that he bought in early. I like the fact that they make the change early. It didn't become a thing where you got the fall camp and now he's in no man's land and now we got to figure out what to do with this kid.
Before spring
figured it
over.
out. They figured it out as soon as they could.
In 3 months. And that staff has been here. Wasn't even complete in early January. They haven't even been on the plains 3 months. And they identified his skill set. They identified his value. And they moved him to a position where he could be better utilized.
Yeah, these guys are working, fellas. This coaching staff is working, right? They're out to prove something. And I think that coaches that have something to prove are just as dangerous as players that have something to prove. Right?
Ike, talk to me. Pegues was your guy.
He was.
On the offensive side.
He is my guy.
He is your guy
on
the offensive side of the ball.
Yes.
Still.
Yeah.
Still. Okay. So talk to us. What do you think about this move, man?
Pause for a second. Timothy Monk. Yes. The answer is yes. If you look at the green screen on the front of that, it has my last name up there, Gittins. That's what the G is for. But yes, I did create that 2004 video as a prelude to the 2004 season. So I created it in the off season after 2003.
So what he's saying is he willed the undefeated season into existence with his video.
It was prophetic. It was pretty prophetic. But go ahead.
You're welcome. But Ike, talk to us, man. When you heard the news, man, what were your thoughts, bro?
I didn't like it. I still don't like it. And here's why.
That's what you've been so
Keep that same energy.
I was letting you get your rocks off. So I was like, all right, cool.
Saying nothing. Yeah, nothing to say yet. Okay.
Plenty to say. I'm letting everybody else get their rocks off. I'm letting the comments be like, yeah, this is a great move. I agree with you, Mike. All right, cool. All right, let me speak.
I got a question for you for after you give us your
cool. So here's a couple of things I don't like about the move. Number one, I still think he's the most talented guy in the tight end room. I don't care how many other people are good in that room. If he's the most talented guy in the room, you start him. Right. Number two, the thing I don't like about the move is what does that say about what we have currently on the defensive line that you had to go borrow a tight end to go over there and put them on the defensive line, a guy who has very limited experience on defensive line, to want to bring him into that situation. What does that say about that? Was Jeremiah Wright really the best guy on that line? Also a converted offensive player to go over to defense? Does that mean the defensive line is underperforming to that degree? Number three, if Pegues makes this move and it doesn't work out, he's leaving. He's not going to stay at Auburn because he was asked to make a move that he didn't naturally want to do. He goes over there. He doesn't get playing time there either. He's not going to be at Auburn anymore. All right. So those are my top three reasons why I don't like it. I do like the fact that maybe he's going to get a chance to play both. But my question is, how much playing time is he actually going to get as a converted player over to the defensive line, number one? And number two, if they are going to be trying to do this double duty stuff, how effective is he really going to be? I question a lot of those things, right? So playing time, his actual, how much is he going to like playing the position is going to factor a lot into that. What I do like, let me say things I do like about it, not just poo-poo on the whole thing. What I do like about it is the fact that this staff is saying, you know what? We have to figure out how to give talented players an opportunity to play. If this had been, excuse me for those of you who hate when I bring up Gus, but whatever. If this had been the previous staff, he'd have just been sitting on the sideline because they were choosing to play someone else, and he just would have never seen the field. And, you know, they would have let somebody else do all this stuff, and he'd have just been there unhappy, and he'd have transferred before we got any usage out of it, right?
Right.
What I do like about this is that he was willing to say, you know what? All right, I'll try it. You know, that means that he's a guy who's bought into the team, as Mike said. He's bought into the fact that, okay, you know what? I'm going to trust y'all. Y'all say we can do this. Let's go make it work. I do understand that if it does work out, then that means that we are going to have a beast on our hands, and he's going to have an opportunity to play for a long time in the NFL. Get all of those things. I get the positives of it. Doesn't mean I have to like it, because I was excited to see someone who broke the prototype of what you typically see at a position go out there and do things we've never seen done at the college level. You have to understand what the tight end position is now garnering in the NFL. It's not the same tight end it was 10 years ago. In the NFL right now, tight ends are a premium. They're paying top dollar for tight ends, and they are linchpins of offenses. When you have a guy who is that talented to be able to play that position and you can find a way to utilize him, I think we missed an opportunity there. Again, I understand we got a ton of talent in the tight end room, not poo-pooing on any of those sides. He's just different. He's just special, and I wanted to be able to see that in action. But hey, it is what it is. I'm hoping it works out for him.
I disagree.
I know, but I disagree with you.
Yeah. Like, I disagree that we don't know that. Again, I don't think that the move was about deficiencies on the defensive line.
Why?
I think
if you're stacked in a room, tight end room is stacked, defensive line is stacked. Why move him to another stacked place if it's not? You think that he's naturally better there? Is that what your statement is?
I'm trusting the coaches to determine that. Right?
This isn't about coach trust. I'm talking about if he is. So let's just put it in this way: as a tight end, A through F, where would you think that he ranks as a skill at tight end? A through F.
I don't know. I've never really seen him play the position.
So how can you be excited about the move? You're just saying, well, the coaches moved him, so he must be better there. Because the question has got to be, if you're saying I trust the coaches, then you're saying that he must be better at this other position than he is at the one he's currently in.
Yeah, I'm just saying if they're looking at him and they're thinking this guy has a chance in a good tight end room, if this guy has a chance to be. If they're looking at him and saying that he has a chance to be exceptional, even over the talent that we have, I think that's an exciting prospect. You know, I think that we're talented on the defensive line. If the coaches are looking at it and saying,
I'm not poo-pooing that.
He can make the switch and be the most talented guy in a room with a bunch of talent. I just think it's about the player. At the end of the day, if they're telling the player, like we've seen in the past, that this is the best chance that you have. Right. And it's a lot of trust that the players have to have in the coaches to make that switch. Now, I've seen it a couple times at Auburn. I remember being in a meeting where they tried to get Brandon Jacobs to switch from running back to linebacker, and he didn't buy it.
Right.
So he left the next year. Right. Now,
we won a Super Bowl as a running back in the NFL.
Right. Now, let me tell you, I mean, he bet on himself at running back. I think he transferred to like Northern Illinois or some school like that. Yeah. Right. And then the Giants took him. You know, so they may be right or wrong. I think he could have made money playing linebacker in the NFL. He thought he was better as a running back. I'm not sure. It's hard to argue with the results of the decision that he made for himself, right? But when the player he didn't buy it, so he left, right? And all indications to me right now, based on what I'm reading, are that Pegues is buying it. If Pegues is not buying it, I'm with you,
right?
So again, I agree. The buy-in is to me, the buy-in is really the only part of this that matters. The rest of it is speculation until we see it on the field.
Correct.
Him being willing to make the switch and not being drugged into the opportunity and being like, you know what, you're not going to get any playing time at tight end. You might as well switch, because that's what happened with I can't ever remember nobody's name when I'm trying to talk about him. Guy who's currently a running back, transferred over to Barrett. Yeah, that's what happened with Barrett. Barrett didn't really want to be a defensive back, but he wasn't going to see the field at running back. But now, as soon as the opportunity opened back up for him again, you see where he is. So if it was really, I want to be a DB, he could have stayed at defensive back, right? He didn't want to. So this is completely different in that respect. My point is still that I think that there are other things that indicates about what they feel like they have at that position. To me.
See. Yeah.
Okay, we will definitely see. Again, this is all speculation at this point.
Right.
And I'm not. None of this even indicates whether I feel like he'll be successful at it. Like I don't. You can go back and rewind this after we end this and hear one time that I said I don't think JJ Pegues will be successful on defensive line. Never said that. I'm looking at comments and people are like, but it's like I didn't say that he wouldn't be able to do that well. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Let me ask you this, Ike, and this I'm kind of feeling what Brian is saying right here. Okay, what have you seen in Pegues? We know he's got some targets. He caught some passes last year in Gus's offense. What makes you say?
Do we know what anyone can play tight end under Gus's offense?
Right.
Sure. But what I'm saying is, what makes you say, you know what, with his athleticism, because he's an athlete. When with those guys, you can put them in one or two places and they be successful, right? Okay. He could be successful as tight end. He could be successful as D line. But what makes you that adamant that tight end is the best fit for him?
I didn't say it was necessarily the best fit. I just said we haven't seen an athlete like him playing the tight end position at his size and his speed and his agility. He showed that he has good hands. He shows that he's a very willing blocker, and he shows that he has a ton of agility for his size. He showed all of those things in very limited snaps last year. We saw him take shotgun snaps and make a spin move and make a guy miss in the hole. We saw him catch the little route where they have the guy running in motion across the little flare screen that they do. We saw him catch that, turn it upfield, and be able to make stuff. So we've seen his hands on display. We've seen him block, and we've seen him be able to make moves in the open field.
Agility.
All of those things are things that tight ends need to be able to. There's nothing that you ask a tight end to do that JJ Pegues cannot do with better athleticism than you typically see at the tight end position. There's absolutely nothing. You can't name a thing that a tight end can do that JJ Pegues cannot.
Yeah, all I'll add is that, as a pass catcher, his success will be highly dependent on the person delivering the ball to him. So on defense, he is more in control of his own destiny in terms of, can he get to the quarterback? Can he do the things that are being asked of him? Can he stop the run? Can he put pressure on the quarterback?
Only in pass catching is that he can still block without.
But that's what we want to see, right? We want to see him catching passes. Right. I mean,
we just want to see him be effective. Yeah, I want to see him be effective. So that's my whole point about that is like, I need everybody to calm down. I did not say he would not be good on defensive line. Again, go rewind and hear what I'm saying. Never said JJ Pegues could not play defensive line. I will keep repeating that until you understand that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is I feel like he would have been a dynamic tight end, the likes of which we had never seen play. That's what I am saying.
So hold up. So I got a question. Actually, my question, Ike, you covered it when you broke everything down. Does Pegues get moved if Wright doesn't tear his ACL? That's a question.
That was a question I wanted to ask too.
I don't think
he does.
I
don't think he does.
I don't know.
That's to Ike's point, which is this was about deficiency on the defensive line. It
could be completely circumstantial. They're evaluating talent much differently than the last staff. Period. It is not uncommon for guys to make switches like this, and we saw it because it happened all the time before. right? It
Right.
just stopped happening under Gus. Now it's happening.
Not completely. What's his name? Prince played left tackle for us.
Yeah,
he
it
actually
wasn't
came in
as
as a
common.
defensive end.
No,
he
don't
moved
do that.
offensive line.
It wasn't as
the same
common.
thing with Wright.
Even-
Wright actually got snaps on the defensive line, even though he came in.
It happened under Gus, just not as often. Not
And
as
it wasn't
Which I'm
success,
saying.
and where are the success stories of when it happened, right? Like how many times did they make a switch and some guy became a monster at the position that they switched him from?
I mean,
Right.
Whatchamacallit got drafted as a cornerback, which I still don't know
Noah,
why that
first
happened.
round,
Noah
yeah.
Igbenogany got drafted at cornerback after playing there. Like he wasn't that good to me at cornerback, and y'all could be mad at me for saying that. I don't think Noah was that great a cornerback. He was very physical, but I don't think he just was he wasn't a first round draft pick.
Right.
He was
that
okay.
was a miracle. That was our last defensive staff's greatest success.
Right.
Was turning Noah,
Yeah.
a wide receiver with mediocre hands and very limited size, into a first round NFL cornerback draft pick. That was a phenomenal job.
He was, but he was a one off, right? My point is that those stories weren't very common under the last staff.
Again,
I'm not saying it never
we don't
happened.
know if this is going to be a success yet, so we can't judge this
You
move
never
as
know.
a one-off or not. What I'm saying is,
you
like you're
never
saying,
know.
he was a one-off as if they didn't make a lot of transitions during that period of time. Just some of them didn't work out. We have one success story of it.
A lot of
We're way
them
too
didn't work
early
out.
to determine. Okay, I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying we don't know yet on this staff whether the decisions that they're making are going to play out long-term in the benefit of the player and the team. We're yet to see that.
Yeah. I mean, you never know. I'm just telling you that I just like that. I feel like they're evaluating the talent differently than the last staff did because I've already seen the results of how the last staff evaluated talent. Period.
Okay,
Right.
so hold on. So, Mike, you're getting into something that I heard you. We're saying it, and we haven't put words to it yet, and that is, we've seen 8 years of the last staff. We saw what came out of that as far as what the talent did. What its rating was when it came in, how much of that talent we retained, what their ultimate successes were on an individual level and as a team, for Auburn University, and what they did going to the league and how they progressed there. We don't trust. That's strong. Let me say this. We don't have any reason to trust Brian Harson's staff yet because there is zero evidence to conclude that they are better than Gus Malzahn's staff. That's a fact. There is zero evidence, as in wins or personal successes for the players, what they've achieved on the college level or what they've achieved on the pro level or how they were drafted, because there is no evidence yet.
Right.
Okay.
that's
However,
a fair statement.
we are willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, him being Harsin, his staff the benefit of the doubt, because we see differences between how he operates and the last coach
Correct.
and coaching staff operate.
Yeah, because
Sure.
we know what they were doing before. We already have seen the results of that.
Right. We saw a talent come in high, take a step down and go out, or maybe kind of fizzle out altogether.
Consistently.
Right. There were exceptions to that, but for the most part, the average was decline in your star rating or how you produce according to your talent.
Underdeveloped.
Right. So what I'm thinking through this is Eason a better evaluator of what I can do with a guy than Gardner is? Because I've said this, and I don't want to disrespect Rodney Gardner. He's a professional and he's a coach and he's been doing it long enough and he's had some successes, but I didn't see production and development that I thought we were going to get. I actually think Rodney Gardner kind of ground guys into the ground, and then they left maybe very coachable guys, but not better players.
Right.
And was his presence here something that kept this transition from happening? Like there's a lot. Like if you're Piggies and you see the field in spot duty, you know what I'm saying? Does that mean that maybe I should transition? No, I don't want to be under that guy. No, he's not gonna do nothing with me.
Time out for a second. B. So yes, he was actually a very good punter last season.
Short distance.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he did turn in some really good punts last season on some of those quick kicks. So I don't really think that's an insult. I think he did well when he got called on to do that. Right, like so. I just checked one for Bo in that category.
And listen, unlike Pegues, I don't think Bo would sign up for that one. But
Yeah. I don't think so. But I just want to say, listen, he did get called upon to do that. Anyway,
he did all right.
Yeah, he did all right. Like it was an impressive.
Let me reiterate. This is not a lack of trust in someone's ability to evaluate the talent of JJ Pegues. I need to keep saying that because I think people are hearing me when I say I like the man at tight end. That means he's not going to be good at defensive line. Those two, I can like him at tight end and he can be good at defensive line. Both of those two things can exist in the same universe. Can we agree on that?
That's fair.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah. But again, the unknown is that we'll always have when you make a switch like this is this the right move or not? And what indications do we have that this is the right move? For me, again, reiterating, player buy-in is the first indication.
Player buy-in is the only reason why I am not screaming about this right now.
The player buys in, but then I'm all about it. Brandon Jacobs didn't buy in. I saw it a couple more times when I was filming in there where players just weren't buying the switches. And to your point, they did end up transferring out, right? Like those players don't stay. And for a talent like his, it would be a shame for somebody like that to leave Auburn and then somebody else benefits from the fruits of his talent. Right. That would be very disappointing to see. So I'm hopeful that it's the right move. I think that the fact that Eason was pushing for it makes me a little bit more hopeful as well too, because he's looking at talent and just thinking, man, like I think I could do something with this guy that's special, right? And that we haven't seen. Because to Ike's point, right, he was something different. I just think he's something different. And
I agree. He is not a very normal human being. Like he is one of those transcendent type of athletes where I literally think, other than like actually playing quarterback, you could literally put that man or wide receiver, right? Like stuff that just requires you to be like you could literally put him he probably could play linebacker if you taught him how to. Right. He probably could play offensive line if you taught him how. Like he's just the athletic ability that he has allows him to be able to plug and play in a lot of different places. He just has to figure out which of those places, number one, is the best fit for him to get the most playing time. And then number two, which one of them has the most longevity for him if he wants to be an NFL player.
Watch the film of him playing basketball, man. Like, I mean, this guy was athletic on a basketball court. Ike's a basketball guy. I watched him hit step back threes. I mean, he was Steph Curry with the shot on some of the film that I watched. And
it was a highlight reel. It's
I think that him lining up against offensive linemen with the athleticism that he displays, being as big and quick, is going to be a problem for a lot of offensive linemen if he can get the technique down. And that's what they'll probably be working with him. So I like that they're making the move.
Apparently he played some defense in high school as well. So he's not completely unfamiliar with it, right? Yeah. But the question is whether or not he is going to be able to learn. Like it's athleticism, of course, is not the end all be all to playing a position, right? So you have to kind of be instinctive about the way that you attack gaps and, technique, assignment sound and all that kind of thing. So if he can pick that part up, then again, I have no doubt that he is going to be super talented and he's going to do all of the things necessary to be a phenomenal player for years to come. But we don't know. We'll see. What I do trust based upon the little bit that I've seen from the tape of him coaching is that Nick Eason knows what he's doing and knows how to get guys ready. So, I think, it's going to play dividends for him, but I do still think that indicates they felt they were a little thin along the defensive line, so he needed some help.
Now, let me tell you this. Here's where I will come all the way back over to Ike's side of this. If you make this switch and then he does not play significant time at D-line, I hate it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you make this switch and he doesn't see significant, meaningful time at D-line, this is stupid.
Yeah.
To me, right? Like, because if you're going to make the switch, then, like, what was the point? He's not seeing the field now. So, and I think we know more about him at tight end than we do at D-line. I think that's a fair statement. So we just couldn't get him the ball. And it could be an indicator of a lot of things. Like, what do they think about our passing game? Do they think he'll be wasted at tight end because of how much he may or may not be able to get the ball based on how they're evaluating what we have on offense?
We've got a ton of talent at tight end, though. Like, I don't know that our tight end room, like, if we were giving grades to each of the rooms, right? Like, our tight end room probably was an A-, maybe an A+. Like, I just think we've got a ton of talent in that room. You remove him from that room, we're probably still an A talent. I think they still have A talent in that room. So it doesn't degrade what you have in the tight end room. The question is, does it upgrade your defensive line significantly, right? Because if you're going to move him, then that means that's why I think the move makes sense, because it's like, okay, we've got a ton of other guys at tight end. We don't have that guy, but we do have a ton. Because let's think about somebody like a Pitts at Florida, right? Pitts at Florida is not the prototypical tight end. He looks more like a big wide receiver, but at tight end, who's guarding him? We saw it on display at Florida. You just can't guard the kid. It's physically impossible. You put a linebacker on him, he's faster than him. You put a cornerback on him, he's taller than him. If you put a defensive lineman and you want to drop him back, he's too fast. There's no good matchup. A safety can't guard him. There's no good matchup for that guy. I felt the same way about JJ Pegues, and he's a bigger guy. So you don't even need him to do that great at route running. You just need him to catch the ball in space and then go obliterate somebody trying to tackle it.
Right.
But again, none of this says, let me come back to this again, that I don't think that he can play well on the defensive line.
Right.
That jury's still out on whether or not that transition will make sense for him in the future. I definitely hope it does, because at the end of the day, he's still going to be on the field for Auburn. So I don't want him to not be good at the position. I actually hope that this is a monster move and he becomes some unblockable force on the defensive line that's causing havoc the entire season. I want to see that.
Right.
So I want to answer a question right here, because Kendrick asked, is the 8A game coming on the SEC app? And the answer is yes, right? So it's being broadcast on SEC Network Plus. And so you will be able to watch that on the app if you have that package on your cable. I mean, I think it is actually a channel as well to the SEC Plus network or whatever. So you'll be able to watch. You should be able to watch that on the go. Every single SEC spring game is going to be broadcast on SEC Plus, except for Alabama's, which will be on just ESPN.
Yeah.
So let me address two things I see in here. Lamorris Knowles says that the tight end room is unproven, though. True, but they're not unproven because I think they're unproven because we never threw them the ball. So, how do you know what you have in the tight end room until you're actually seeing it utilized on the field? There's a ton of unproven things on this team right now because we never seen it used in the actual games. The other one that I want to address here, I thought I saw one from Brian Dixon. There it is. Great points, but does he go to the NFL at tight end? That depends on whether or not we utilize him, because there's literally, you cannot convince me someone that talented with all of those intangibles can't be a great NFL tight end. Again, we have to stop thinking about tight end the way we thought about it 10 years ago. You have the George Kittles of the world. I know I'm biased. I'm a San Francisco 49ers fan. You got the Travis Kelce's of the world. The tight end room in the Ravens, right? They had 3 great tight ends that are playing for the Ravens. The tight end room has evolved over the years in the NFL. And right now, that is the linchpin for a lot of offenses in the NFL. So, yes, he absolutely could make the NFL as a tight end if he were being utilized properly.
But my question,
his talent.
But my question to you is that does this indicate a shift in the way they're thinking about running offense, saying we don't want him to waste away at tight end? Because based on everything they're evaluating, they may not be throwing the ball to that position. It may not be, you know what I mean?
I think that if there is any thought on this offensive staff of not throwing the ball to the tight end, then we're already looking wrong, because our tight ends are too talented to not use them in the passing game. Also, I just don't think that you can run the type of offense that we've seen Harsin or Bobo run in the past and not have tight ends being utilized in those. There's just I don't know that they work effectively without challenging the middle of the field with the tight end.
That's fair.
Yeah, I just think too. Yes, you're utilizing tight ends in terms of blocking and catching passes, but because you have so many, and then you have this guy with this unique skill set, the coaching staff is thinking, okay, we got tight ends, we're good. How can we effectively get the most out of this kid?
Right.
These people are naming a bunch of teams. The Bills, great tight end room. The Raiders, you had Waller.
Yeah.
Just the tight end position's just different now in the NFL. That is a marquee position right now that offenses are figuring out. Their matchup nightmares if you got the right guy there.
Right. Well, and you got the right system and a quarterback who can actually get them the ball, right? We're at the 49-minute mark, so I want to jump back in here and talk to everybody else.
49 minutes went by really fast.
All about Piggies, right?
When we get a differences of opinion, time flies when you're having fun. But go ahead, Mike.
So becoming insider, $5.99 a month will get you there. We are expanding our content rapidly. So for right now, beside early access to all our content, you also get access to the Chop It Up with a Pro. We are now bringing our insiders. You can go back and rewatch these Chop It Ups. The second Chop It Up every month is always a film review. So we bring former players on. Our next Chop It Up next to Thursday will be with Chris Todd, and we will be breaking down quarterback film. You do not want to miss this. These things are highly interactive, and they are. It's a special time for us because nobody else is bringing you weekly or monthly film breakdowns of Auburn content, Auburn football. So we're excited to have Chris Todd with us. Chris is a friend of the show. If you missed last Thursday's Chop It Up, Chris has been getting his weight up. He looked like a linebacker. He came on stream looking like a linebacker. It's been a few months since we've seen him from his building report segment. So if you don't know what Chop It Up with a Pro is, here it is. Chris Todd will be with us. If you want to continue to support our film reviews and things that we're trying to bring you guys, please hit that GoFundMe. You can find this link in the About section of our YouTube channel, as well as our merch store. I've gotten a number of private DMs when you guys are really excited when you get your merch, and I love that you guys share that with us. So you can hit that. Get Your Weight Up line is in stock and ready to be sent to you. So Isaac did a great job designing all that stuff to the extent that you guys wear our gear and help support the work that we do. We super appreciate that.
All right, real quick, hold up, Caesar, because I know we about to pivot off of Piggies because I want to bring up a couple things.
Go for it.
All right, so one, the tight end room now includes Landon King, the guy we just got in the current class, who JG Tate was like, no, he's really good. I have not seen his tape, but we kind of forget about him. We already had, with a lot of experience at the position as a hybrid H-back and tight end, Schenker, which I'm not saying he's a world beater, but you're talking about experience. At least he's physically already up to the task of playing a position in the conference. From Deal and Frazier, we are stacked. I think that's a significant part of this is we are freaking stacked at tight end. And I don't know if you just have your projected starter go down on one end, and then you've got five guys who can all contribute on the other end. I wonder, and I'm not saying that it still might not be the best thing. This could, like I said, this could all work out, and then the coaches look like geniuses, or it could just be necessary. It could be a necessary risk you have to take. Does Barrett move if we keep Mark Anthony Richards, and who else left? Who's other guys left? At the running back position.
Oh, DJ Williams.
Yeah.
If we keep those two guys, is Barry moving?
Doubtful.
Probably
doubtful.
Not.
He's transferring.
He's probably transferring.
He's transferring. So the circumstances may have forced them to make a decision that could be the best decision for all parties. Let's hope it's the best decision for all parties. But there's very, very little right now that we can say that means this is the best move for him or for us. We're just hoping that the coaches are onto something here.
Right. Yeah, I hope they're onto something. Definitely. Certainly.
Yep.
I think that's the hope. All right. So it's just hope right now.
That's all we got, right?
Yeah, listen, until we see it on the field, all we can do is hope for the best.
Yeah, certainly.
So speaking of which, we're 6 days away from actually seeing something on the field. And yesterday we had a second scrimmage, and Harsin talked a lot about that. Defense actually played well again. He did say some things, it's refreshing to not hear coach speak and to hear a guy be transparent about things he wants this team to improve on and clean up, to us to get past making some mistakes. Again, evaluating what he's seeing on the field with the players, how they're teaching these kids. Of course, again, he mentioned there was several turnovers. I think 2 scores on the defensive side, I think. So again, just to see him be transparent about getting better is refreshing to hear from our head coach, and not just another good week of practice. So I just want to know, what do you guys, based on what you've been reading, hearing, what were your thoughts about the second scrimmage?
Listen, the defense should be winning these scrimmages, period. I think that if your offense is killing your defense in the scrimmages, you're in for a long season. Yeah. So, I mean, every year where we hear, usually I'm used to hearing that the defense won the scrimmage. So I think they have kind of an upper hand, so to speak, when it comes to some of these scrimmages. The quarterback doesn't go live. So, it's just one of those things where I'm thinking I hope that we don't have to lean on them as much as in the past, but it tells me that our offense is also getting tested in practice, and that the toughest competition they're going to see is going to come before Saturdays in the fall. They need to be seeing real defenses in practice. So right. I'm excited. I'm excited to hear that they're winning. I don't think it means that the offense is doing poorly, right? I don't think that's necessarily.
I was saying, okay.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's exactly what it indicates.
Harsin mentioned some positive things in the red zone, like when they did some situational things. He saw some things he liked from the offense. Yeah. So it's not like they getting stopped flat out cold, but at the same time, they are running into a brick wall. I mean, I think our defense is going to be frustrating a lot of offenses this upcoming season. So I just think it's good. It's good that these guys are getting hit in the mouth now.
Yeah, I said they were going to lead the league in sacks this year. So I mean, any argument for me on that. I expect to hear they're winning.
There were 2 parts of the statement that Harsin made that made me feel as if the offense is not playing well. Again, we don't know yet whether that means the defense is doing so well or the offense is just not doing. But this is one of them. He said he wanted to make new mistakes, not the same mistakes, right? Which basically means, look, I get it. We're going to go out here and we're going to make mistakes. But if we've already talked about this, let's not see it again, right? And that to me indicates they've got some work to do on the offense. The other portion of that was when he started giving the offense credit in the red zone, he also backed that up by saying, but we weren't allowing them to hit for real, right? So we don't know whether the offense, like that physicality is what matters when you're down there that close. And it's like, if you're not really just allowing them to go all out, then we don't know whether or not you're really moving guys down there, or if it's just by virtue of the fact that we were telling them to go half speed. So I feel like the offense has got some struggling that they're doing right now, probably mostly because it's a new system. But we'll see. I had my doubts about whether or not this offensive line was going to be able to step up and do some things. I think that it's indicative that we have some work to do there. We all know that the quarterback position has some work that has to happen there. We've got a ton of inexperience at wide receiver. So again, it's still early. This to me does not indicate whether or not we will be successful game 1. And matter of fact, we don't necessarily have to be dynamite game 1. The fact that we have 2 week games to start the season out is becoming more and more beneficial as the weeks go along, because we need to be able to get in live competition against somebody who hasn't seen this same play 10 times and they know kind of what to anticipate. Right. And their ability to be able to do that against lesser competition hopefully will help them to be able to get the semantics of, their steps right and how they're going to be able to block in this scenario and So we'll see. But I do think the offense is struggling right now more so than the defense is dominating. But again, that's speculation based upon me reading between lines.
Right. Yeah, I've got we all knew, I think, out of the habit of playing offense, and from what we heard from Chris Todd, when not just with the interview from this past Thursday, but also with his building rapport, the habits of playing offense, like quarterback, is habitual. It's not athleticism. It's not what it takes to be great on defense. It's habitual. Offense is habitual because you're going to a certain place. Defense, you react. Offense, you initiate. You have to know where you're going. You have to go there effortlessly, and you need to also react, of course, to what the defense is doing. But it's going to take so long for them to build up the habits of running not only this system, but changing the fundamentals of how they were playing anyway. Bo has 2 years of poor fundamentals, probably like 12 years of poor fundamentals, but he has those, and now he's had 3 months, and he hadn't even been able to work with coaches live for 3 months. He's been working with coaches live for what, 3 weeks?
I say about more like 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
So he may have known that a change was coming, but he can't get under center with Bobo telling him what to change. That didn't happen until a few weeks ago. The effort may be there, the intention to learn may be there, but the reps are what matters right now.
Yep.
So I'm not as disappointed as I would be if this was year 3 under Harsin and Bobo together. That's really disappointing then if y'all are turning the ball over like that, because you're in the system. You know the reps, you know the steps, and you're just messing up. Now we're in trouble. This was going to be a hard learning process, but I'm glad it's hard. I'm glad we have an outstanding defensive mind to sharpen the other side of the ball. I don't want them to get anything easy. I'm glad Gus is not here to shield feelings with second team defense or no. If the first team defense is going to embarrass you, if they're going to pick you off 3 or 4 times, let it happen. I want to see it. You know what? Cam Newton's best season was 2015. You know what happened before that season? He was choking Josh Norman out in a practice picture because he had picked him off. Josh Norman had picked him off in practice, and he was choking him out because, of course, Josh Norman talks trash.
I say it wasn't because he picked him off. It's because Josh Norman wouldn't stop talking.
Right, but that's great. Can you imagine anything like that happening here or previously? No, you wouldn't even let your best guy embarrass your number one guy. You wouldn't let your best corner embarrass the quarterback here. That wasn't going to happen. He would put backups in before that happened because he wanted to build up the confidence. And yeah. No, forget that. Embarrass these boys. That's how you're going to get better.
Yeah. That's a fact, though. If I've heard plenty of players say it, and we've talked to them, in these building rapport segments about how many fights happened in practice because the competitiveness was at that level.
It was high. Yeah.
It was just like we wanted to beat them. They wanted to beat. But at the end of the day, when we got to the game, it was like, all that aggression you just had with me in practice, I need to see that out here on these boards. And I'm going to remind you every single snap. You remember how you was talking all that junk to me? How come you ain't talking to him like that?
Right.
Right. And so you need to see that in practice because that indicates we are competing every single day. I'm not going to just let you guys walk in here and score on us. I don't care if it's practice. I don't care if we're on the same team right now. Today, you're not scoring. Period.
Yeah. And when I beat you in practice, like Courtney Taylor said in an interview, if I'm beating someone who I think is all SEC, I don't care who you are on Saturdays. I'm going to clean you up, right? Because I've been working hard all week against someone who I think is better than you anyway. So I'm cleaning you up. So yeah, I like, again, make it hard for these guys. I'm not mad that they're struggling right now. They need to struggle. Our offense has been struggling against top competition. Right. So they need to get used to struggling so that they get better.
All right.
Gotta see
my favorite moment of the competitiveness that you guys talk about, I've told the story a couple of times, was they run a drill called skeleton drill where there's no offensive and defensive line essentially. And a lot of times they run Skelly no contact, and it was supposed to be no contact, but for whatever reason, Travis Williams just decided that he was going to hit Cadillac in this drill. I mean, it was very bizarre that they were going no contact the whole drill, and then they hand Cadillac the ball, and Travis just runs up and puts the smack on him. Petrino was our offensive coordinator at the time, and he's like, "We're supposed to be effing no contact." And Joe Witt comes in and was like, "F you and your weak ass offense." And I thought the coaches were going to throw down, right? So, support staff runs up to me. My camera's like, "Camera guy, make sure you delete that video," right? And I am thinking the coaches had that kind of fire versus each other in practice. So it certainly, carried over to the players. That's the type of leadership that we had. And on Saturdays, they took that same fire, like to Caesar was saying, over to the game on Saturdays. It just hasn't been happening, and I'm hoping that we see more of that, right? Actual competition. That's why I'm not upset about hearing the defense win the day in practice.
We talked about this before. Early in spring, it's the defense is supposed to be winning. If your offense is whooping your defense in spring, then your defense is probably not going to be. I just there aren't too many offenses. Well, let me just say this: that aren't with this much change happening. The defense should be winning. Now, if you got more experience along the offense, then yeah, they might. But
it should be even. It should be a little bit more even, right?
Yeah.
Like, again, if you've got a dynamic offense, right, and they're experienced, and you got a bunch of veterans coming back, it should be defense make some plays, offense make some plays, right? So what this is going to boil down to is, are they going to see enough this spring to springboard our offense into fall camp for us to see something different? Now, I still think what we're going to have to see, if our quarterback doesn't take significant steps forward, you're going to see a lot of ball control type offense. He's still going to be called upon to make plays, and he just has to make plays when called upon. That's it. Because this defense is going to give them a short field. I think that red zone scoring is going to be a key to 7 wins or 9 wins. Right. When you get a short field, do we get touchdowns over field goals? And if we can start producing more touchdowns in the red zone, it will take the pressure off this defense to shut teams out, right, for us to win. I mean, that's where we've been. We're asking, I take a lot of offense when people start talking about the step back that our defense took last year. I'm like, they've been carrying us for years, and then they lose a bunch of talent to the NFL, and everyone's like, oh, we took a step back defensively. Well, they were almost every team goes through that.
You're going to take a step back from all-time great. You can't get much better. So, we've seen it happen.
We've seen it happen at Alabama. The difference is that their offense was able to take the steps forward when their defense took a few steps back. So you never really noticed that their defenses haven't been as good as they have been in the past. But they have not been producing all SEC type defenses.
Right.
They've been producing all SEC type offenses for the last few years to help cover up, because the game is changing. The game is very offense friendly now. You can't touch the quarterback as much. Sure. You can barely grab the wide receiver. You can't do anything. You have to play almost perfect defense to shut down offenses these days, unless you're going against a really bad offense. So it is harder to play defense than it was 10 years ago. And you cannot have an offense that just doesn't produce or consistently puts you behind the chains or causes you to lose the field position battle. You just can't. It's too hard to win like that unless you have literally a top 10 all-time defense. In 2019, we wasted a championship level defense.
Yes, we did.
We wasted a 20 level defense behind an offense that was one of the worst in the league on the road. So that being said, they just have to be better, right? They have to be better than they were in 2019 on the road, and just give us a chance. I think that's how they get to 9 wins, right? Be better on the road, steal a game nobody expects us to win, and hold serve at home. Harsin said something during one of these highlight videos I thought was interesting. He said, "This is our house. And I'm paraphrasing him, but if you're going to come into our house, expect an ass whoop." That's not what he said.
5 o'clock yet, Mike.
What time is it?
Ass doesn't count. But
yes, it does.
Right, but expect a very, very expect an experience that's not very hospitable when you come to Jordan Hare as an opposing team. And they just need to continue that and then find a way to go on the road, be mentally tough. And Penn State is going to be, I'm telling you, that is one of the loudest, most raucous environments in college football. And it's going to be a really good test for this team, win or lose. I won't be super upset no matter what the outcome of that game is. It's just the test that we need early in the season. It's not an SEC game, right? You got 2 cupcakes before that. You go up there and you figure out what you have on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do we go to Death Valley this year? Do we go to LSU this year?
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
Right? So, again, you got to go to that environment. It's very similar. That's still, to me, the hardest place to go play in the SEC.
Yeah.
A night game at LSU is the hardest SEC road game, as far as I'm concerned. Nothing rivals that. And I just believe that they're going to have to crack that equation and figure out what they're doing there. And your quarterback's just going to have to step up and make some plays, because this is college football is a quarterback's game. Now, dynamic quarterbacks, dynamic athletes, really good passers win championships in college football these days. And if you got a game manager, you need everything else around him to be perfect. That means our offensive line has to play well above what they played last year. You need a Heisman type running back. We got one. And you need receivers that can go get the ball no matter how it's thrown to them, which I believe we have. This might be a more talented group than what just left for the NFL all around. So, I don't know, man. Like, I just think this spring practice was an indication that at least maybe we're headed the right direction. Only time will tell what we have at the end of the day. But I'm really excited about this coaching staff, right? And that's no sunshine pump. That's just, looking at how they're evaluating. They're making moves. They're making some Piggies to D-line is a bold move. I'm like, all right, F it, shake it up. Let's go. I'm on board because I just watched 8 years of trash. 8 years of under.
I'm going to say 6 years of trash. 6 or 7 years.
Of underdevelopment, right? Well, the ending, the 2013 was trash. So I counted.
Yeah, that was very disappointing into a season for sure. Man, you know what? I just need to pause and shout out Dallas Schwartz out here in the comment section. He is not even an Auburn fan, but he is gracing us with his presence today. I appreciate you.
Man, good looking out.
Shout out to you, man. Apparently he's a Pac-12 guy, though. I don't know what that means.
I don't know what he's talking about with LSU. Dallas, let me tell you something. Watch out for LSU this year. They were not as bad as they played last season. They lost more.
Thank you, Dallas. I'm gonna say something. Mike has been so. You know what? This is what it is. Mike is traumatized by the Gus Malzahn era.
Is there someone who is an Auburn fan that is not traumatized?
Okay, so we all are to some extent, but okay, so behind the scenes when we would go live in 2020, right? Mike would be like, all right, y'all, I got hope, but he better not let me down. Bo better not let me down. He was hopeful that Bo would improve.
Wait, hold on. I'm gonna let you finish. Number one at what?
What are we talking about? This is just
USC number one.
What year are we talking about?
I was about to say, did we all of a sudden transform into we went into the past somewhere?
Number one at forfeiting championships. Well, go ahead.
All right, continue.
So Mike, we all wanted us to be good. I had checked out mentally. I was like, no, I know what this season's gonna be. Yeah. They would tell you, I was like, nah, we just need a new coach. Every time we close,
you did say that.
When we were starting or ending broadcast, I was like, well, we'll see how the second half goes, but we need a new coach. Because that's me. Because I had gotten there ahead of everybody else. Mike still had hope that Bo could be the quarterback we wanted him to be. I forgot what game it was last season.
So can we pause right there and acknowledge at some point in time Mike had hope in Bo. So all of you Mike hates Bo people, Bo drove Mike to this point.
I was really hopeful. Yeah. I mean, I stuck with him for almost an entire season.
Mike was this is his year. This has got to be his year. And then when what happened, he was off Bo.
Yeah, I was. I mean, here's okay. Let me get down because this is a significant. We didn't have as many subs as we had then, right? So you'd have to go back and rewatch some of these pregame segments to see what my stance was on our season. But after his freshman year, there were enough bright spots there that I thought maybe he'll springboard forward. I was always concerned about his road performances, though, and what that meant about his mental. Right. I just was like, listen, he is all-time bad on the road. At one point during the season, like 28% completion percentage on the road. And if you, to me, I just think in my mind, if you can do it at home, you can do it on the road. Right? Because a pass is a pass. The football is the same size. Hopefully it has the same amount of air in it, unless you're the Patriots. And like you have the lines are the same. A yard is a yard, right? So you go out and you play football wherever you're at. And then coming into 2020, it just seemed like we were repeating a lot of the stuff from 2019. And I started to get worried as the season went along that they weren't progressing. Now, while acknowledging that he didn't have a spring, and I think that we needed that spring more than a lot of other teams in the SEC to figure some things out. I don't think that can be understated. That I think that spring was a severe impediment to Bo's maturation process. So I wanted to acknowledge that. But then there were other things that when I started to look at the stats and the numbers, more concerns started to pop up of just about whether he could be accurate or not. And now my only hope is really that coaching was most of the problem, even though it seems pretty half and half to me. There are things that you can control just as a football player that, regardless of who's coaching you, he should be able to go out there and do. And I didn't see enough of those things. And maybe this coaching staff, again, I'm starting to get just a tiny bit hopeful because from the interviews we've done, it seems like he's going to start the season no matter what. I think there's too much ground for any other quarterback, no matter how talented, to make up unless he plays significantly terrible this week. He's got to have a really bad week to lose that starting job. It just does. Right. So if we're going to start the season with him, I want to see him finish the season.
Yep.
I want our starting quarterback to finish the season, no matter who it is. So if it's
we got to go back to the story, though.
I was about to say, go to the LSU.
Yeah.
We'll get back to it.
Yeah.
Okay. So the hope was there for Mike G, y'all. He believed because he believes in Auburn and loves it. So of course he thought we could get better. No, Ike was pretty in. He was like, man, we'll see. Caesar too. I was done. So here's what happened. All right, as the season goes on and it looks more and more like we're not good. Bo's not good. Gus isn't good. We got to make a change. What Mike saw happen at LSU was they were terrible, and then they slowly got better. He wanted a coaching staff that could do that. Mike was jealous that here's a team who looked bad. The quarterback position was unsteady, but they made some swaps. A guy goes down, a productive guy goes down, a new guy comes in. They're trying different things.
All facts.
The season goes on, and you know what? Then they're beating the SEC East champion. They're upsetting the best team out of the other side.
With some help, but they look competitive.
I mean, yeah, you had to throw a shoe, to get that win. But you know what? But it happened. That game was within
Still
reach for a team that looked terrible at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Compared to a team that had been burning people except for A&M all year. So Mike became his ideal. Not Alabama. Alabama's not his ideal because he knows that we won't have Alabama talent and resources. Like he says a lot. We need development is more important for us because we won't get the 3 out of the 10 best wide receivers in every class or at whatever position group they target. They're going to get 3 out of the top 10. That's not us. I'm not saying that we can't get close to that someday, but that's not us right now. So we need development. So here's what Mike did. Mike overlooks a couple things about LSU, and that's why I'm getting around to what Dallas was saying is that their offensive coordinator in 2019 when they won the championship was a guy who had been their offensive coordinator. Joe Brady was the passing game coordinator. He came from the Saints. He installed a lot of pro style and somewhat experimental concepts in their passing game, and it worked out great. You had to have a good trigger man. What's his name?
Burrow.
Yeah, Burrow was a good trigger man. He was a great trigger man. You had an unbelievable wealth of talent at wide receiver, which LSU always had. They just never had the trigger man. You had a really, really good running back in Edwards-Helaire that I didn't realize he was that good until he played as well as he did there and in the pros. So I think it was more of a perfect storm, honestly, because Joe Brady's not there. That coordinator's not there. Their defensive coordinator was one of the best defensive coordinators before he got to LSU, which is why LSU went and got him.
Right.
They had a lot of things going really well for them that season that even though they did turn it around over the course of the season, I don't think anybody was unbeatable last year, except for maybe Alabama. So them beating Florida had wild deficiencies, like significant deficiencies. Their strength was just unstoppable. Their passing game was unstoppable. They had a 3-man team. They were
one-dimensional.
They were one-dimensional. It was Pitts and Trask and Tony. That was it.
Yeah.
Ball game. That was it. And they can burn anybody. When they started scoring on Alabama better be glad that clock stopped because they might not stop scoring.
Yeah, they couldn't.
So LSU did beat them, and Florida had to beat themselves. I don't think we're seeing a juggernaut at LSU. I think we saw some pieces leave that will be hard to replace. I don't think their current defensive coordinator is as good as Aranda. I don't think their current offensive coordinator is as good as their former one plus Joe Brady. And I don't think they have a quarterback on their roster that's as good as Burrow. So, no, I don't think LSU is going to be unstoppable. I think they have enough talent to be very good.
They're going to be a tough out.
What they are is what we should be with the talent that we have been getting for the last 8 years.
That's a fair statement. Right?
10-2, 9-3 to 11-1, and you've got a shot every few years at really being something special. But I don't think LSU is who you think they are. You just admire that they did what we should have been able to do as a coaching staff and as a program.
They haven't been wasting talent as much as we have, right? Like they took a step back last year because they graduated a lot, like a lot of talent, and then they had a bunch of guys sit out, right? That's it. But you cannot underscore that they've been recruiting better than we have, and they seem to produce a lot more from the talent that they get. Right. So there's a couple of comments that I want to address here. And like, listen, this is a no BS zone. This is no sunshine pump. So like, I'm not this is not me just going after this. But this whole thing, you know, I've seen you in our comment section before. I'm out bash Bo like the O-line is perfect. If you actually watch us, nobody said that the O-line was perfect last year.
No,
nobody.
You need to sign up for
right. Absolutely
nobody here who did to the O-line.
Right. Yeah, we actually did a whole film review on just the O-line and the deficiencies that we had on O-line. So if you're going to criticize some of our content, watch our content. I'll tell you that much, right? Watch it and don't just hear one thing. I mean, some of y'all act like Bo is your first cousin or something, right? Like the way people are caping for Bo. And there's another thing that I want to address here too that it kind of grinds my gears is about this whole idea of the true Auburn fan, as if you say anything critical about any player or the team, right, that's automatically considered bashing, right? And there are places you can go for a sunshine pump. This is not one of them, right? We just tell truth, and then we talk to players and coaches, right?
Right.
Before we form our opinions about things. So unlike some other places where you can go for Auburn content, we are actually forming our opinions based on what we're hearing from the people in the program itself, and people who have actually played for the program. And I'll be the first to admit to you when I'm wrong about something, because every once in a while, a player will come on and tell us something that is completely contrary to our thought process. Right. And every player who we've taught, former player who played in the NFL that has analyzed Bo, and some of them really like his ceiling. They do. They think he has a really high ceiling, but they can still acknowledge that there are a lot of things within his control that he can do better. And if you actually watch film, you'll see exactly what we're talking about. We're breaking it down in 9 days.
Right.
Right. On things about accuracy, putting the ball on the right shoulder, things that he can do better. Right. He's aware of that. He said it. So I don't understand why people come here to tell me that every time I say things that Bo is saying himself, we're bashing him. He's aware. The coaches are giving him that feedback now. Right. And so there's some other things that I kind of want to get into. Right. Like I saw in a comment from Auburn Dad that where does it go? He disappeared on me for a second. I had it right in front of me. But essentially, well, let me jump to this comment about Billy Jones. If we had a good Bo Nix's freshman year, then he would have helped them to redshirt. But he threw Nix to the dogs. I agree with that comment completely. Lack of development is why we had to play Bo his freshman year. Wouldn't have anybody better. Yeah. And
Willis
I think
may have been better, but he admitted that he didn't take it
seriously, right? I think that Bo would have really benefited from a redshirt season where he could have learned and they could have worked on fundamentals and things of that nature. But because we've been developing so poorly at that position, we didn't have any choice but to turn to a freshman, right? And for everybody who's telling me that, oh, you're putting too much faith in Davis, I'm like, listen, I just think freshmen can be successful at the position, but they need coaches who know what they're doing. Which is why I was ready to move on from the last coaching staff halfway through last season, because Brian had been saying it. And finally, I just got on board. I was like, you're right, man, it's time to go. because Bo has way too much talent to perform the way he had been performing the last season. Even without a spring, man, like there were things that you can do with fundamentals that you don't have to get on the practice field to do. Yeah. Right. You know, I mean, they're just quarterback things, right? So, I mean, and then there's this other point that I wanted to make by Blake. Gus's terrible play calling, right? The first part of this is what I want to address. This was the other thing that I felt like set Bo back, right? Because when we break down the film, SCC, SSI, or whoever you are, right? Like when we break down the film, we saw that there were no options for him to throw for an intermediate route. You had these slow developing plays, which hurt Bo, and it hurt the offensive line because they were being asked to block for more than 3 seconds. And the average quarterback in the SEC gets the ball out of his hands about a half second before the clock hits 3 seconds after the snap. If you were holding the ball longer than that, there are only a few amount of very talented quarterbacks that can extend the play to 3 to 5 seconds and then find somebody downfield. But route running was our system wasn't set up for that, though. Devin Aromashodu talked about all the pre-snap reads that he made as a wide receiver to know how he was going to run his route on the DB that was guarding. Stuff that I was like, wow, I had no idea that the receivers were actually doing that. And then you need a ton of chemistry with your quarterback to be able to change your route. And then the quarterback sees that and knows where to put the ball for you. These are the special connections like Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison, right? And Jerry Rice and almost every quarterback he played with, right? Like they had these kind of that's what chemistry is, quarterback to receiver. In play, you can read the guy in front of you. The quarterback sees the same thing that you see, and then he puts the ball right where he knows you'll be because that's what you guys practice. That was never happening at Auburn. Then we ask a guy to go out there and throw the ball over 30 times a game and save us.
Yeah. And so
that's not fair.
Whatchamacallit said that specifically in Chop It Up. He was like, a portion of that, yes, is what the play design is, but a lot of that is the chemistry between the receiver and the quarterback. Right. So he specifically pointed out, like, because I asked him, I was like, so how do you know, we're going to cut this route off right here? It's like, you throw it so many times in practice. You and this guy understand the safety's playing it like this, the corner's playing like this. I'm going to have to bend this route a little bit more. It's going to turn from a post route to a deep over, right? And I know that he knows that I'm going to throw it that way. But so again, there is a portion of that that's owned by play calling. There's a portion of that that's owned by the offensive line, but there's a portion of that that's owned by the quarterback, and there's a portion of that that's owned by the wide receiver. We have extensively talked about every last one of those things as issues. To come here and tell us that we bash Bo Nix ignores what we didn't start talking about Bo Nix until an hour and 15 minutes into this show. We spent an hour and 15 minutes talking about every other thing dealing with this program, but then we get here and talk for 10 minutes and people are like, oh, you're bashing Bo. I'm out. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Come on, but again, man up and come here and speak differently. Have a conversation. Don't just run when you get your feelings hurt. When someone says something you don't like. This is a no sunshine pump zone. Come here and speak your piece. I mean, I see people do that all the time, and I respect them for at least agreeing to disagree with us.
Or in the comments afterwards. We have good conversations in the comments afterwards.
So here's the comment that I was looking for. Again, this is somebody who actually watches our content. So he knows that I said that I see improvement. Right. And I'm also willing to give him a chance with the new coaches. I think I've resigned myself to the fact that he's going to start. My question has been, in the first 4 games, if you do not see significant improvement over what we saw last year, what kind of leash is he going to be on?
Yeah.
Right.
When will the coaches pull the plug? And if they do, will we have somebody to turn to? Because we have not had that in the past. They have not been able to pull the plug in the past because the person backing him up. Right. And I got a little discouraged because I was like, man, are we having a true quarterback competition this spring? Right. Because I want to believe that the guy who is the backup just barely lost the job. That means that we're still in good hands. Or let me put it this way. We're still in just as good hands. Yeah. If for some reason you have to make a change, that guy can at least come in and do what the starter was doing. Yeah. We just haven't had that. We just haven't had something.
You said something. Remember, it was a few broadcasts back, and you was like, "No, it's not Bo's job to lose." And everybody else was like, "You sure?" And then a couple weeks later, you're like, "All right, fine. It's Bo's job to lose." Well, how about this? He may just play poorly enough to lose it, even with the head start. Like that. That's still possible, and that's still a credit to the coaching staff because they're taking the guy with the most recent, most significant snaps and saying, "Hey, you've been playing this position.
Show us that you deserve it.
Show us that you deserve to have this job and keep it. And even though Harsin isn't going specifically, Bo messed that up, and I told him to do that. We're not going to get that from him because he's not going to put him under the burner like that. But what I do believe, and I think we may get some of this play out during and after A-Day, and I saw somebody make a comment about it in the chat. But what if Bo goes out with the ones and they play the ones on defense and he stinks?
Right.
Like bad. Like a turnover and 2 picks. All right, we're talking in like a quarter and a half of work. How loud that shout and that noise is going to be about either Demetrius Davis or anybody else,
right,
is going to tell us a lot. We'll learn more about Harsin then and what we think that leash on Bo is than we will just in spring practice. I think they expect this struggle to a certain extent because everything's brand new. But if he stinks it up in front of fans to where it's not practice, this wasn't just drills, man. This was live. This is still not live bullets. This, you knew you couldn't get hit, and you still messed up like this.
Right.
No, but I think then we'll see something.
Here's what I think, too. Or even if he's just effective enough, but is not as effective as he could be, if somebody could come in and do better. Right? Like, I mean, that's what we see the better teams doing. You sit a guy who is marginally successful, but it could be better. Right. And you have a guy who's continuing to develop at number 2. He's picking up the offense. He's making the plays in practice, and he is ready to go. And you just say the hard decision is Bo's kind of getting it done, but there's somebody who could do a better job.
Right.
Right. That's the hard coaching. And that's why I've not been confident that we would have, because when you look at what's happened the last, few years, it was clear why they didn't pull Bo. We really didn't have anybody better to put in. So I can't say I blamed them. What I blamed them for is why we didn't have anybody better to put in.
Yeah.
That's what I blame them for.
So I want to say a couple of things here. Go ahead, Caesar. I'm going to say a couple of things.
And I think because of that, Mike G, and I think you've come around to it, I think what you've realized is the gap between the QB1 and the rest of the field was a lot farther than you thought it was. It was a lot wider than you initially thought because of the poor development behind Bo and with our quarterbacks.
Right.
Like the coaching, Harsin and coaching staff, they got to close that gap for there to even be a competition to that degree. Correct. So that's kind of where we are.
Yeah, that's where I was wrong. Like the gap between Bo and everybody else was so large, but I put that on coaching, right? And
absolutely.
I think now you do where they're at is they're going to have to start the season with the guy who has the most experience, and then give Davis or whoever it is. I hope it's not Lloyd, because I just don't think he's the guy, right? Like the rest of the summer, fall camp, and the first 4 games to catch up.
Yeah.
Right, because Penn State, I'm telling you, I'm not so concerned with what happens in the outcome of that Penn State game, as long as we do not look completely inept.
Right, like that can turn our season. We could build a foundation in that Penn State game. In a loss. Yes,
you can look at that game and you can say, hey, listen, they handled the pressure well. They did some things like, maybe you're getting beat at halftime. They make some adjustments. Bo maybe doesn't have a great first half, but comes out the second half and really settles into the game. Right. That would give me a lot of hope. I just want to see them. But what we've seen from him is when it goes south, it really goes south and it doesn't turn back. Right. So even in a loss, he could have a bad first half and then have a good first half, and I'll be encouraged. Right. So, I don't know. Like I got up on I didn't want me to get on my soapbox about it, but I'm telling you, I get so exhausted with people coming here to tell me like you're bashing Bo. Right. It was funny. I was on the Auburn, All About Auburn group, and they were joking. They posted something about true fans only Auburn group. And I just had some questions. I was like, okay, so who is it exactly that decides what a true fan is? Right. And now I read the description. And I was like, no, thanks. Right. This sounds like a bunch of delusion of the people who will just want to believe that Auburn is going to win every game no matter what.
It's the cheerleading section, and that's cool.
Yeah,
like I don't. But that doesn't make you not a fan just because you don't cheer everything that your team does.
Right.
Like there's a difference between those two things. I wanted to say a couple of things about this whole situation here. Number one, if you by any means feel as if we are heavy-handed on Bo, then look to Billy Jones and Auburn Dad for Life as your examples of people who are here that are big fans of Bo and have stayed here because they're like, you know what, we actually agree on a lot of stuff here. So we're not. So if you just ask them what we're about, number one. Number two, and slightly off the topic about the coaching change stuff, right? Or not coaching change, excuse me, the player change at quarterback. Mm-hmm. I've actually come around a little bit differently on the decision that they made about Tua in that national title game, about why they made that decision.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm interested in this.
I still think it was a good decision, but here are my thoughts on it, right? I actually think they needed someone who wasn't going to be safe, and Tua was the not safe guy to put in, like, because Georgia was banking on Alabama's offense to remain safe, and they were just like, we're going to sit on everything underneath, and we're going to make you throw it over the top. Tua has no qualms about airing that. He going to air that bit out. He just going to let it go, right? Facts. And so that was what the decision in their mind wasn't necessarily. He gave them a better chance to win just because he's going to go in there and he's going to take a chance that Jalen Hurts never would. Jalen's not just going to let it fly, right? So that's the reason why I feel like that made a better. But conversely, here at Auburn, nothing about our offense is catered to people making bad decisions with deep. So it's like it didn't really matter who you put in there. We just want to periodically, we're going to take this shot on this play. Doesn't matter if it's there. Right. Doesn't matter what the defense is doing. This play is called to take a shot deep. So it's not a decision that a quarterback is making that's going to predicate on that. It's just the play calls for a second and long 30-yard bomb into double coverage. Let it rip, quarterback. So it don't matter who you plug in right there. Does he have the arm to get it 30 yards down the field is really the only question. The better quarterbacks in this system actually are the ones who are running quarterbacks, which again, that makes me not understand why in the way that we had been approaching the offense, we weren't playing the quarterbacks who had the better legs. I still don't understand that. Doesn't matter. He's not here anymore, but you won't make me understand it after going back and watching film. I just don't get it. So, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
in-game coaching had to be better, right? And again, if you actually watch our content, you'll know I'm way harder on coaches than I am on players by a long stretch. I believe that you make $5 million a year, and your one job is to give players a chance to realize their athletic potential. And I see coaching a lot in the terms that I see teaching, right? It takes kids sometimes years to recover from having one bad teacher early on in their education. One bad teacher can ruin a kid for years. And, you have a limited amount of time as a student athlete to make an impact on the field. And a bad coach can ruin careers. Some guys are able to overcome that. Others are not. Right. And then if that coach does ruin it for you, you have to count on somebody who knows what they're doing in terms of talent to say, listen, this wasn't about this kid. It was about his coaching. We're going to take a chance on him. It's just very Cordy Taylor talked about it. He says it's very uncommon. That if you're on a winning squad, you're going to get more looks than an excellent talent on a losing squad. Yeah. Right. That's how it is, man. That's how the game works. Right. And so the talent evaluators, think about it on the NFL level, man, millions and millions and millions of dollars go into scouting every year. Right. The talent evaluators go out. Right. And we were working on getting a scout to come on and talk about, talent evaluation at the NFL level. Right. It's hundreds of dollars an hour just to get those guys to come talk to you about it. So mass amount of resources go into talent evaluation. And, you need coaches. It makes it easier for the kids when you have coaches on the college level that are good at that. Right. So I just feel like, listen, man, a lot of things hurt Bo. But my point is that there are things within his control that he can control regardless of coaching. And if he just takes those things, right, and says, you know what, no excuses, I'm going to get this done, I'm on the Bo train. That's it. I really do, because either he can or he can't, at that point. And then once he removes himself as a negative from the equation, we can look at it and say, yes, it is truly the offensive line. Right. But when you break down the tape, I'm telling you, there are a lot of plays where, and there were some things that did hurt him. Like, the drop versus LSU. Do everybody remember the drop versus LSU last year? He threw it was Bama. Yeah. He threw an absolute. He dropped a dime on Seth Williams that should have been a touchdown that just got dropped. And I'm like, man, listen, for a guy who had aspirations to play in the NFL, that's a ball you have to catch 10 times out of 10 at the next level.
Yeah.
But you're not telling me the scouts are looking at that and saying, he's going to be a high draft pick dropping balls like that. He's going to have to explain that in his interviews. Right? How do you drop that ball? I mean, this is your biggest rival. The team ended up going on to win the national title, and you had a chance to make an impact on college football's biggest stage every year, and you dropped that pass.
Right.
How do we trust you're not going to do that week to week in the NFL? And Bo need that. He needs that help, man, for an inconsistent offense. When he was able, he did everything right on that play. He stood in the pocket, he quiet feet, he delivered the football, and he took a hit. And he took a hit to deliver a strike, and the receiver dropped it. No excuse for that, dude. I was incensed for Bo. I was just like, man, come on, man, this guy, and that's the type of stuff where I'm telling you. But he didn't do that consistently. I think Bo would have had a much better season if he played the game like he played on that play. Right? Don't always try to escape. You can't always escape the hit. Listen, man, 2004, 4th and 12. Jason Campbell has to make a pass, or there's no undefeated season. That team is not legendary if he doesn't make that pass. He kind of rolls out to his right. There was no escaping the rush. He had to forget that. He had to deliver the football and got clobbered. But he threw a strike. And now we're all standing here talking. We are always talking every year about how the 04 team is the greatest team we've had in the last 20 years, right? But we're not if our quarterback doesn't do that. And I just want to see more of that from Bo. You're not always going to be able to avoid the hit, right? And the heat that our offensive line took, I'm just telling you, I think that, yes, they could have played better. Brahms was a mess. We had some issues at left tackle, but for the most part, they weren't as bad as they were being painted out to be. I think that the system
they had a couple of bad games, and that stuck out in everybody's brain because Georgia was atrocious.
That became the narrative about them.
Right, that became the narrative about them. So again, the system first and foremost required them to block for an abnormal amount of time because the average fan doesn't have the clock in their head that says the quarterback's holding on to the ball way too long. Now, why is he holding on to the ball too long? Well, the play's designed that way. There's nobody for him to throw to underneath, right?
Like, and your running backs aren't escaping the pocket. Like they're not no safety valves, no nothing. It's just
you're in max protect with your running back when you don't need to be. Tank stayed into block when he could have released and been an outlet for Bo. We saw that a ton in the film. We're like, wait, why is he's not blocking anybody? Right. Why did he get out of the pocket and just let Bo dump it off? There was nobody in front of him. Right. So play design hurt everybody. Well, first and foremost. But then there were just some quarterback things, just like there are offensive line things that you just have to do better. And I'm hoping that this new staff can fix a lot of these fundamentals, right? And I'm all for Bo. Listen, I'm all for Auburn. And if he's going to start, I want to see him be successful. Okay. I don't dislike any player that I want to see them do bad at the expense of my team. That's where I'm a little bit. That's my sunshine pump. If you're in there, I want to see you do good. I want to see you do very good. Right?
It's not even sunshine pumping. That's just being a rational human being who loves their team. Like you want them to succeed.
Right. Yeah. But coming on my channel and acting like we are just unreasonably tough on anybody is cherry picking. It is cherry picking.
Yeah, because like I said, as many negative things as I have said about all of the players that I have significant issue with and the way that they've played, you can't tell me I'm harder on one player. Again, the guy who we talk about more often sees the ball more than anybody else. So, of course, there are more things for us to evaluate, number one, about him. And number two, he's one of the few returning players that there are for us to speak about. So it's not like we just randomly just was picked out of you know what? Bo Nix. That's the guy we're going to. And nobody said Bo Nix is the reason we didn't. Now, there are games Bo Nix lost for us. Yeah, let's be clear about that.
South Carolina.
Let's be clear about that. There are games that he lost the game for Auburn that we could have, if not for mistakes made by him, won those games. There's a portion of blame that goes to that, again, on the play calling. There are a lot of mitigating circumstances, but still, absent of those mistakes, we probably win the South Carolina game. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
He forced the ball into some situations where he didn't have to.
He didn't have to. And it didn't have
that ain't got nothing to do with play calling. That ain't got nothing to do with the offensive line. You could have just eaten that, thrown it away. Right. No problem. We win. We live to see another down, flip the field with a punt, something like that. You forced those situations. You took some bad sacks in that game as well. That's on you. Right. Play calling didn't help us, but let's be clear about that. Outside of that, listen, it is what it is. There's a lot of stuff that has to get better all over, and that's why we're on to this next coaching staff. We'll see what they have to do. Looking forward to A-Day. Looking forward to talking with y'all on Wednesday.
And that's what Auburn Dad is saying. He's thankful that A-Day is coming. Shout out to him. Appreciate that.
I can't wait to see what we see.
This upcoming Wednesday, we're going to talk because a lot of people are asking us who you think is going to have a better A-Day. What do you expect? We're going to talk expectations this upcoming Wednesday in the War Room. You don't want to miss that, guys. So there's enough to talk about there. I think we've covered a lot here. Mike, tell them what we got coming up this week, bro.
Listen, if you want this smoke, become an insider. $5.99 a month. We'll give you all the smoke twice a month. We're going over a film. We're talking with former players. We are bringing you guys education. I'm really excited about some of the things that we have planned. We try not to share too much until those plans have been solidified. But we certainly have some interviews coming up that are going to be very telling. Our platform has grown in large part thanks to you guys coming here to chop it up with us every week. As a result of that, the work that we're doing here is getting noticed, and it's giving us a chance to bring you guys even more educational content on football. So $5.99, you can join on the front page of our YouTube channel. Our GoFundMe is up. Hit that GoFundMe. You can find this link in the About section of our YouTube channel as well. And then the merch store, right? The merch store is live. Get your War Report merch. Chop it up with a pro, Chris Todd, next Thursday. Ike and Chris will be breaking down quarterback film. And, we've done what we do is we get together with the players beforehand, and I enjoy the off-camera interactions that we have with them, just talking football. And it's cool to pick their minds about things that they see and what we see, and kind of have a good back and forth where we learn a lot about football from players who have been in the heat of the moment to do this. It's remarkable to listen to them sometimes. So this is your chance to be able to be a part of that discussion. If you cannot catch it live, but you are an insider, you will be able to rewatch. You obviously won't be able to ask questions if it's not live, but I'm looking forward to that session. We may come back and break down some A-Day film if we can get our hands on it. We're working really hard to bring you guys some all 22 film reviews. So for those of you who don't know what all 22 is, it's the coach's film where they zoom out. This is how wide receivers are graded, right? Like where you can see the whole field, you can see the routes from the sideline, and then from the end zone, you can see the line, the line, the running back, the quarterbacks, the linebackers, and the safeties if they're playing in close enough. This is how players get graded. So if we happen to get our hands on that film, you guys are going to see some fantastic film breakdowns that we hope to bring you in the future. Ike is working really hard on these. So we appreciate you guys' support. When you join as an insider, or you donate to the GoFundMe, or you buy merch, it helps us to be able to bring you more of that content. So I can't stress enough, there are a lot of creators out here asking you for something for nothing, not at the War Report. We are actually taking that and putting it back into the content that we're bringing you right now 4 to 5 times a week. Which is a remarkable pace for content creation in the off season. So we have Facts or No on Friday, Building Rapport on Mondays, and then we're live Wednesday and Sundays with y'all with a every other Thursday Chop It Up with a Pro. That is our current content schedule. We appreciate you guys being patrons of our channel. War Eagle.
Hey, I'm gonna hold you to this. If we land one of these, then I need to see you in here on the membership thing. Don't think I'm gonna forget that you just throwing that out there. All right.
Trey Mason? Is that Trey Mason he's talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know. It could be Trey Smith, but yeah, we'll see. I think he probably meant Mason because of the Marshall.
Shout out Jonathan here. Yeah, and I agree. In the film review, we did talk about ball placement, going on the inside instead of the outside to give receivers opportunity to get more yards upfield.
Right.
Appreciate you, man, for supporting. We also got
Joe Cameron, my
Cameron.
man.
Appreciate you, my guy. Yeah, man. So, and a few other people have commented. I think someone said that they got a membership after they saw Mike get emotional last week. Listen, that was very touching, Mike. Yes, there it goes right there.
Yeah, listen,
So,
man, family is all we got, right? We can't claim to be the Auburn family and not give a damn about each other after these lives are over. So, I can't stress enough. There are a lot of different things going on in the world. I won't get as emotional this week, but I will tell you that mental health is something that's near and dear to my heart. I don't think that it gets talked about enough. We all feel life's pressures, and sports and football are our escape from a lot of that sometimes. So being able to come here and just talk football and just kind of escape reality for a little bit with other good people who we agree with, who we disagree with, but we can all be Auburn family at the end of the day is what it's all about. So I appreciate that you guys were with us that day. And to see him again, anybody else, my line is always open to talk. Right. So a lot of you, and the best way to contact me is on Twitter for that.
All of us, rather.
Yeah, Twitter is definitely the way to contact me. So our Twitter handles are on the screen. But listen, man, if you just want to talk, chop it up at Mike Gittins on Twitter. I'm here for you.
Indeed. Well, in closing, y'all know what to do. Please like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Go out there on Instagram and Twitter if you have one of those accounts, and please, you can follow us at The War Report. If you're a TikToker, you can find us at TW Report. Signing off. Have a great rest of the weekend. And as always and forever, War Eagle.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.